Ayy, this ain't a drill. Only time I plan is on the field. And when I'm on the field, no, I got mad skills. And you know we bout to eat this a fast meal. Y'all gotta pay for this heat like a gas bill. We keep on coming back, so yeah, they mad still. Everyone sick, make them pay with some bad bills. Red, white, and blue like Superman, so you know we eating at the Super Bowl. Kill the competition, set up the funeral. Josh Allen catching all the shots you go for. We callin' blitz. Ready to start, we ain't calling no quits. I'm the #1 draft pick. A lot of y'all talk, but I ain't hearing it. Only listen to Keyshawn and niggas talk about the Bills dominating on the field. All our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill when we talk about the Bills dominating on the field, and our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill.
What's going on? Back again with another live episode of the Post Podium Podcast, home of the all truth, no sodium takes. We almost didn't get this intro in because, I mean, we was laughing and talking and everything all through it. I mean, doing nothing but having a good time here, as always. I am your co-host, Aramis.
And this is Keith.
Listen, we back with another episode of Fixing the Bills, but we're gonna do it 2025 style, and I think the dynamic of it was really cool to do 2024, in what's supposed to be a really down year cap wise, and to now kind of fast forward another year after that and see what it would look like with roughly $60 million of cap space.
Yeah, 50.
50? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So with that said, I did kind of want to go around the league really quick.
I wanted to do the same thing. So
all right, perfect. Yeah, so let's get into week 13 and how it affected the Buffalo Bills. What did you see this week?
Well, I was thinking more of a hot topic. So I saw the Chiefs lose.
Yeah.
So this is my thing. Anybody that's been watching the show knows how I feel. When have I been screaming? Why did we build the team to beat who?
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Right. So if they don't win on Sunday, is that not a fireable offense?
I mean, everybody in the world right now, including this vote of confidence that was posted by a source from the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. I don't think anybody ever said. I don't think anybody ever said specifically that Sean's job is safe in general. They just said Sean is not going to be fired during the season.
Right. Yeah. Tim Graham reported that Sean McDermott. There's a 0% chance that Sean McDermott is fired into the season. He didn't say the beginning of the 24 season. He didn't say that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He didn't say off season or anything like that.
I mean, honestly, I think that's what he is implying. So I think he's saying there's a 0% chance. So for our 2024 show we did on Friday, I mean, we kind of went reality and what we wanted. We kind of, touched on what McDermott might do if he's still at the helm versus what would happen if we got our way with, who do we go with? Who was it? Bobby Slowik. Yep. Joe Brady and Phil Parker from Iowa. As the defensive coordinator. So, I mean, the exercise still holds true regardless because the money's going to be the same. Obviously, there's going to be some things that McDermott does that Slowik wouldn't do, or Slowik would do it, McDermott doesn't do it, blah, blah, blah. But for the sake of the argument, I think you still want to look at this in totality and realism because we put some thought into who the players could be coming into Buffalo in the next year or two. And a new coach is coming in because I think regardless of what McDermott does, whether he's still here next year or not, I think he needs to hire or promote a defensive coordinator, even if it's somebody that doesn't really make the calls, just somebody to oversee that side because he clearly has shown he can't do it.
It's probably going to be Washington. Yeah, if he does do it. Or
they were calling for Bobby Babbage. I heard just on the way in they're calling for Bobby Babbage.
Babbage is the linebackers coach?
Yeah, he moved from safeties to linebackers. Maybe outside linebacker. One of the two is a specific linebacker.
I want to see what his numbers are.
Did you know that the Bills had a pass game coordinator on defense? Yeah, they have. I did not know this either, but they have a guy that's a pass game coordinator on defense, which further proves my point that I made last week. Why did you not give Dorsey anything? Right. Why didn't you give him a thing to work with? You stacked your side up to the gills, to capacity, but you still did not.
But everybody
do
on
one
the offensive side of the ball is left to
their own devices.
Yeah.
That's like I said before. In shows past, job security.
Right.
But yeah, no, I I didn't want to deviate from your point about, around the league, but I do think that this team, if they were truly built, as we've known for them to say, to beat the Chiefs, they better beat the Chiefs on Sunday, because this is it. There's no more meat on the bone.
Well,
I mean, if you do this and do that, even if you win out, you're still not guaranteed. You still need help. So right now you have to control the controllables and not worry about the math. The math ain't mathing.
Right. I think emotionally, it's based off what we've seen so far. It's hard to think that this coaching staff is going to be able to get the same level of energy out of this team. I mean, if anything, I think the players themselves would play with a mentality of it's win or go home, because technically it is. If they don't win this game, mathematically they're going to need a lot of help.
Yeah.
That is, percentages wise and likelihood and all that. It's percentage is very low of them being able to back into the playoffs, even like they did in 2017. So, again, I'm still of the belief that it will become an undeniable truth that Sean should and would be fired this offseason if he misses the playoffs. I think I guess if we're looking at the bigger picture of, Sean's track record, it's like in the from the smaller perspective, there's a bunch of, stupid losses that we have. Mm-hmm. But the biggest ones are, you lose the game the way that you did at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
You lose again the next year the way that you lost in the divisional game at Arrowhead. And then the year after that, you lose at home to the Bengals the way that you did. And let's be honest, and I think I've said this before, if you look at the way that this team that this team has played in the playoffs, they don't play the same on both sides of the ball. Right? Offensively, this team has had really 2 excellent games from the offense in the playoffs. That was the 13 seconds game and the perfect game against the Patriots. Other than that, they have struggled mightily, right? And Josh Allen has had to be a superhero in the second half and make plays and stuff like that, and the team has kind of relied on him to do that, which is cool because that's what you have a generational talent for.
Right.
But when you're a defensive head coach and your defense doesn't do defense the way that it's supposed to, and you underperform in big moments in the playoffs, I mean, I don't even know how we got this far.
I mean, I think I'll take it a step further. It's not even just in the playoffs. You said, underperforming in the playoffs, but they've underperformed in pretty much every big game there is.
Right.
That's the glowing mark. Are you able to be competitive in games that matter? It's not hard to beat upon a Jets team that obviously we lost in week 1, but, it wouldn't be hard to beat upon that team. It's not hard to beat upon Washington with Sam Howell or a Denver team that you lost to again. After losing to Miami 70 to whatever it was, 70 to 20.
Right.
You should win those games. Those are games that I'm not looking at when I say, oh, yeah, this team has a benchmark of being good. Those are games that just happen because you handle the business you're supposed to handle.
And to be clear, the conversation about injuries, like, kill all of that right now. Like, right now, kill all of that. Because if we're being honest about it, and you can ask any player in the NFL this, everybody at this time of season is playing hurt. Everybody.
Kind of injury, yep.
Everybody's got injuries. Everybody's got players that are missing off of their team. No team is playing at 100% right now.
But they're not out for the game. Look at last year's Bills team. Let's just bring it home. Last year's Bills team. How many guys missed games last year? How many key guys missed games last year? I mean, you look at Tre'Davious White. He missed games. Von Miller missed games because they were out. Micah Hyde was gone. Dane Jackson was gone.
Yep.
You're talking about Jordan Poyer was gone.
Yep.
So Jordan Phillips gone. You can feel whatever narrative you want, but the truth still holds that the guys that we needed to fulfill the defense that we have now we're missing, but our defense didn't suffer. That's the thing you got to remember. Was Leslie Frazier's defense, was it soft? You can argue that.
Yeah.
It worked though.
Right.
But the thing is, you can't say that he had a full complement of players. The players he started the season with, he didn't have when it mattered the most.
Right.
And they still won games of 13-3.
So I want to make sure that we kind of expand this point too, just so that everybody understands, you know, the impact that Sean has had in these losses. If you look at the way that Sean has coached defense this year, and you look at how tight he gets, and when I say tight, I mean his decision making is very cautious, very, you know, afraid of giving up the big play, very reserved, very, you know, just meticulously cautious to not make a big enough mistake to make him look silly, which in turn ends up giving the other team a big play and he looks stupid anyway.
Right.
But here's the deal. With that being the case, and how we've seen him coach defense in the 4 losses that they've had this year in particular, where they've had the lead in the fourth quarter and giving up a go ahead scoring play. 13 seconds. Mm-hmm. The last 4 defensive plays of that game looked about the same as what we've seen this year.
Mm-hmm. It's consistent. It's consistent.
Right. And I think that's my point. You know, for everybody that wants to say, well, it was Leslie Frazier that lost us that game in 13 seconds. Listen, Sean has already showed you that he wants to, in key moments of the game, have his decisions and his mind be the prevailing thought in what happens on the field. And everything from putting Micah Hyde on Calvin Ridley in London, everything from going 0 blitz on the Eagles at the wrong point of the game. All of these decisions are Sean McDermott decisions. And yeah, he can override his defensive coordinator in those moments and say, no, I want to do this. I want to run this. And I think everybody has to really just own that what we've seen from the perspective of decision making, clock management, and everything that a coach can possibly do to win the game for his team, Sean McDermott has failed mightily. I can't point to any aspect of the way that Sean has coached other than the level of discipline that he instilled with the team and the level of structure that he created for the team in the building. Because those are the 2 things that didn't exist, right? So if you want to give him credit for bringing some structure and some discipline to the team, that's something we desperately needed, and he brought that. Okay, cool. Sometimes that's all you need for a team to be able to focus and win, and that's what happened in 2017. But I don't want to sit here and say that he's the reason that we made the playoffs. Coaches don't have that much impact on a game.
No.
So
I think it was Joe Marino that said, maybe it wasn't, but the fact still holds true. He said, you know, you blame Sean McDermott when Josh Allen throws interceptions. You don't. You know, the same way you don't blame Josh Allen when Sean McDermott makes a play call that's inverse to the trends of the game. Mm-hmm. You can't turn a blind eye to fulfill your narrative. You have to see this thing in totality. When you're looking at this team, like you said, and I've said it millions of times before, if you want to give Sean McDermott credit for building a culture, I am in 100% support of what you're saying. If you want to give Sean McDermott the credit for turning the team around to a winner, I 100% agree with what you're saying. However, where that stops is when you say that McDermott is showing you that he's a coach that can get you to the next level, because Sean McDermott at this point in time cannot. Sean McDermott at this point in time is a coach that needs assistance. And the only way for me to keep Sean McDermott around before we even get into 2025, where he's not even in existence on our team anymore for our exercise, to come around for him being around for another stanza here, is if he gets the needed help. I don't want any more good old old you know, what do you call it? The coaching trees. I don't want, you know, what he's familiar with, because it's not working.
Right.
I don't want what makes you comfortable, because it doesn't work. You haven't been to the promised land. You haven't been close to the promised land in 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
I mean, so obviously you have to change your way of thought, because your way of thought is only going to get us so far.
Right. And
by subtracting your coaching staff with Dable when he left, and you go lower to a new offensive coordinator in Dorsey, you subtract the whole defensive coordinator spot completely in 2023 and not replacing Frazier. You know, was Frazier an issue? Maybe he was, but you need to improve upon what he did. You don't need to reduce and say I'm going to do it, because you can't.
Right.
And we knew that before the season. We knew you couldn't. So if you're going to get a new philosophy, a new style, you need somebody in there that's going to run their style. That's tried and true, a style that's shown and proven to work in today's NFL, NCAA, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know, so when you go get a Dorsey or something like that on an offense with new players scattered all over the place, you expect them to run the offense. That's not fair, and that's what he did, and that's what he's going to continue to do until something changes.
Right.
And like I said last week, with regards to who's going to fire McDermott, Pagula's in Fiji, man. Like I said last night, he's in Fiji. All he does is see the bottom line. He doesn't see the game. He doesn't see the day-to-day. He doesn't care, because he can't analyze. He can't process it.
Right.
So everything is fine as long as we're doing something. As long as we're not 4-13. As long as we're making the playoffs. You know,
right.
you can market to this guy that the injuries are insurmountable.
Yeah.
But until somebody comes and says no, because, you know, we'll say, I don't even know. We'll say the Bears are doing this with less. Yeah. You know, the Packers are doing this in a rebuild year, and you've regressed in a team that you've had the same players you showed success with.
Right.
What is the common denominator? And that's where you got to look intrinsically in yourself to say, okay, I'm not doing good enough. Something's wrong. You got to self-reflect. You got to self-evaluate. What am I doing wrong? And I got to want to fix it. I got to have pressure upon myself to fix it, but they're not applying the pressure correctly.
Right. Well, they are now, and I really think that's the key thing that has never happened until this point in Sean McDermott's tenure here. If you look at what happened with Rex Ryan, that was a Pagula hire, right? And I think the reason that Ryan only lasted 2 years was, you know, after year one, I think the antics and the silliness and, you know, the players coach mentality and the lack of discipline on the field, I think there was already a little bit of a low tolerance for Rex Ryan as a person. And that low tolerance got carried over into the perspective on his coaching job. And so by year two, when things weren't working and the defense was in a lot of ways worse than the first year that he was head coach, I think that's when the local media started to really pick up some traction, and you know, from the standpoint of this guy is supposed to be a defensive guru, and he's ruined a top 5 defense that we had, you know, before he got here. What are we really doing? There was an outcry for change, and I think the point that we're at now with Sean McDermott is, you know, nationally they're saying Sean McDermott is good at helping you to do exactly what he did here, which is establish order, establish discipline, set up a culture. But he is not the guy to get you to the Super Bowl, which is fine. Right. You can still make a living as a head coach doing that. You'd probably be better off in college, because you might get a little bit further in college. But in the NFL, you can be a Marvin Lewis, or, you know, I mean, Tony Dungy with the Buccaneers was the same thing, and then he went to the Colts, and then you know what I mean. So it may take Sean McDermott messing this job up and having to go somewhere else and eat a slice of humble pie in order for him to understand that his ways have to change just a little bit in order for him to get over the hump.
The thing that kills me about him is he's too new. You know, he's 48 or whatever years old, but like we talked about last time, and I said in jest, he's the oldest 48-year-old I've ever seen. Yeah, it's like, you know, you want to be innovative. You want to be, and that's where the whole narrative of the offensive versus defensive coach minded head coach comes from. You know, can you innovate? What do you want to know? Do you know anything about the other side of the football?
Right.
And we've seen time and time again, he doesn't care to know anything else but what he wants to know.
Right.
And nobody in any industry, any job can be so resistant to change and keeps their job this long. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Any job, right? They'll get you out of here in a heartbeat. Like, listen, we're trying to encourage you to make some changes.
Right.
But if you insist on, you know, holding everybody else back because of your, you know, lack of desire to do something other than what you want, it's a problem. And I think that's where we're at. So, you know, I think all of this leans towards if Sean doesn't make the playoffs, the media is going to win. The media is going to win because we've already seen it happen with Rex Ryan, where the media won. They started to ask questions after year one. Year two, they became loud, and you know, from the perspective of, you know, would Pegula pull the trigger on that? I think if you look at how patient he's been this entire time, like, I paid for Brian Daboll to come here. I paid for, you know, all these other coaches that you brought on over the years. I've paid for this, you know, Ferrari quarterback that you got. I've paid for this defensive pass rusher that you thought was going to be the end all be all to all the problems that you faced the year before. And after 6 years of being patient, I'm sorry, I just can't anymore. I just can't. The media is up my butt about all of this. I can't justify this stuff. And if I want to turn myself into a villain, or if I want to, you know, kind of turn my nose up at everything and have the media looking at me crazy, which I don't think Pegula is that guy. I think he wants people to like him. So that's why I think if the media stays as loud as it has been and gets louder, especially if we miss the playoffs, I think it's going to force Pegula's hand. He wants to make people happy. He wants people to love him. And what better way to do that than to fire Sean McDermott?
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I know I said, and I've laid out why I'm ready for him for them to succeed and move on past him. But I just wish that we didn't have to have these conversations still, and just, you know, to a point where our head coach, who did so much, could turn you know, the page and understand that even the winning teams change every year.
Right.
Look
at the Eagles.
It's a culture of evolution. It's a culture of evolution every year. Even when you win, you have to change stuff to keep people on their toes.
Yep.
And he's doing the same thing. You got guys and people are not thinking about this. When they talked about, you know, knowing exactly what the offense was going to do. All these defenses saying we're so predictable. That starts with one person. You know, it trickles down, but that ideology starts with one person. That's the head coach.
Yep.
Because when you identify stuff like that, you push for the change. But he hasn't. You know, his DNA is all over all this stuff. No, let's keep doing this because it works. The defense, the zero blitz. Why? And I think Joe Marino said it on his podcast. It might have been the day or yesterday. I'm not sure which one I was listening to, but he said that, you know, somebody asked, they talked about how Frazier was soft and how McDermott was aggressive, but Marino countered that by saying, okay, but you're aggressive at the wrong times, and the defense knows when you're going to do it. You're bailing them out. There's a reason why you're taking 6, 7, 8 men to the quarterback, and they're not getting there.
Right. Because
they know what you're going to do. And after the first game of losing behind that, that's fine. I'm not going to vilify you because your game plan didn't work. But when you come out in 7 days, a week later, and do the same thing over and over again, like they forgot, like they never saw this before, that's where the problem arises.
Do you remember the first time Sean McDermott called a timeout when he was on defense at the end of a game and he was trying to hold a lead?
What game are you talking about?
I don't remember. It might have been against the Patriots. In which case it didn't work anyway because Tom Brady was still there.
Right.
But the first time that he called a timeout to get a look at the offensive formation, he was applauded for it. Oh, that's just smart right there. You get a look at what the offense is looking to do, and then you bring everybody over, you talk to them about it, and you make sure that you got set your coverage is right and everything's set, and then you go back out there and you execute. And since that point, to kind of add on or piggyback on, onto what you're saying about being predictable, since that point, you can look at every single time that they've been in a situation like that. End of game, defense is trying to hold the lead, or it's trying to stop them from scoring any more points so they can get the ball back and go try and score. And it's third down or fourth down, and a timeout gets called as soon as the opposing offense gets into formation.
And you know the worst part about that is when you're aggressive, you're predicated on being the dictator. You dictate the game. If I'm going to run something and I'm aggressive and I know I'm going to show you what I got, and I'm going to beat you with my alignment because I've seen what you do, your tendencies. That's the whole point of watching film that he always talks about. I have to watch film. If you're watching this much film, you know what they do in these situations. I mean, it's not hard for me to go find out. I could run a query right now and tell you what Kansas City does on second and 5 through 10 or third and short. We all knew, the tush push was coming against Philadelphia, so. It's not hard to find these tendencies, even to the layman, even to somebody that doesn't have the trained eye of a head coach in the NFL, which is not a problem because we're not making millions to do our jobs. But when you're telling me that you got to call a timeout because I'm trying to ice a kicker on a 60-yard kick, I'm trying to figure out what the offense is doing. You should know what they're going to do, or at least have a very educated idea on what they're doing.
Right.
And for you to keep, like you said, keep calling these timeouts and keep doing all these same things you've been doing, that's a mark against you.
Right, because effectively it looks like this is more of a tradition or just something that you do because it's what you usually do, as opposed to you doing this because it presents a statistical or analytic or a leverage advantage or something like that to your team. So there's been very few times in recent history that we've seen Sean McDermott do really anything that has created a point of leverage advantage for his team within a game. Everything that we've seen Sean McDermott do has always been very reactive, and the only time that we've seen Sean attempt to get proactive is in prevent defense.
Yeah.
That's it. But I think it's clear now that the idea of prevent defense and telling your corners and telling your linebackers to not allow anyone to get out of bounds, the players either don't understand that portion of English, or that's not what you're telling them.
Right. Because
in the Eagles game, that's all they did. They got to the quarterback even got to the outside. He scrambled and went up 2 yards up the middle and then ran towards the outside, and the linebacker still couldn't get him. Corners are way too far. Like, secondary is way too far off. They're not going to run up because they don't want to give up anything deep. Right. What does that sound like? That sounds like an overly cautious head coach telling them don't get beat deep.
Right.
No matter what you do not give up the deep play.
And with your offense, you have to be boom or bust. You have to – I mean, you don't have to do it all the time, but there's situations where you have to gamble. There's situations where you have to take the risk. If you get beat, you get beat.
You could even say you don't really have to gamble. Like in the Eagles game, just play the same defense you've been playing.
Yeah.
Just play. You were doing great all game long, even when the offense of the Eagles made adjustments and they started running the ball, which we knew was coming. Just keep playing the same way that you were playing.
Right.
It was successful as a whole throughout the game. And while it may have, lacked impact at certain times, you still were doing a good job overall. So to kind of just to completely switch everything at the end of a game and ask a defense to do something completely different and not attack.
Right. That's the thing.
Either don't attack at all or attack too much and leave your chin open. Like, You can't do that to the mentality of a team, to the psyche of a team. If you want an aggressive defense, then play aggressive, but play smart. And you did that in the Eagles game. Just keep doing it. You know, it's what it really is people got on to, who was it? Was it Chan Gailey or was it Dick Duran that had a similar tendency of not being great in crunch time situations?
Yeah, it'd be Duran. Okay,
so again, another defensive minded head coach, but that's why Dick Duran got fired. He was another defensive culture guy, establishing discipline, benching guys like that. He did the same exact thing. Sean McDermott is Dick Duran from in that sense, and he's got the same bad habit of as soon as things get tight, he closes up, he clams up, he starts coaching tight, he starts making a bunch of scared calls and hoping that the offense just crumbles because they don't have the lead.
Right.
Like,
it doesn't happen. And the thing, you know, for me, if I had Josh Allen in my back pocket, Stephon Diggs in my back pocket, Dalton Kincaid in my back pocket,
right?
I mean, I'm gonna be a little looser.
Exactly.
You know, because
you can afford to be.
Yeah, I can justify to the Bills fans and say, yeah, we sent the blitz or we did this trying to make them make a move because we knew we had our ace in the hole on offense. We just wanted to get our offense back on the field, by hook or crook. I would take that answer any day.
Right.
You know, if I lose in that fashion, that's fine. But when you're talking about I called the timeout because I wanted to end the game there, no. And then and see,
I don't buy it.
No, and then the foresight of knowing that you're 1-6 in overtime. Why would you ever play for overtime?
Exactly.
Why would you ever want to voluntarily go to overtime when you're 1-6 in your career in overtime?
You just watched the Eagles score 4 touchdowns and a field goal in the second half against you, and you think you're going to be able to stop them in overtime?
Yeah, they outplayed you greatly. 280 yards of offense in the second half. Like I said, they averaged 3.3 more yards per attempt than the first half in the second half. They were running you out of the gym. You had to get out of there as quickly as possible. And I would have did everything I could to try to score that 3 or whatever it took to get over the hump and get out of the link with a W. You know, in a rainstorm in a game we weren't supposed to win against a beatable opponent. A team that lost to the Jets for their only loss until yesterday. So we had it. It was coaching scared that took that game away from us.
But you know, it's funny. I don't even think this Eagles game is at the top of the list of reasons why this year in particular Sean McDermott should be fired. The more I think about this, the more I think it has to be the linchpin of this whole entire season of why Sean McDermott needs to be fired. You lost to a quarterback that couldn't keep his job 3 times now. Not only that, you let him get a game-winning drive on your defense under 2 minutes to win the game. Yeah. You made the kid look like Tom Brady. I'm talking about Mac Jones.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Zach Wilson week 1. Okay.
Mac Jones has lost his job 3 times this season to Bailey Zappi.
Yeah.
And that's the guy you let go and run a 2-minute drill on your defense, your championship caliber defense.
268 yards passing.
And you let him go get the game-winning score.
Yep.
And you can justify that how? Injuries? Everybody's injured.
Everybody's injured.
Nobody in the NFL ever uses the excuse of, well, we were injured. Nobody says that. If anything, they say next man up.
That's what we say until we're injured and we lose.
Fans. That's what fans say.
Mm-hmm.
Fans love to say that. Well, we had injuries. We had all our guys. That's not how it works.
And what does McDermott say every time? I'll give him credit for it. He says every time, next man up.
Exactly.
That's what it's supposed to be.
What makes Patrick Mahomes so great? What makes him so great is him scrambling on a sprained ankle in the Super Bowl and gaining whatever it was, 15 yards or whatever it was, to solidify that victory.
Everybody, Patrick Mahomes isn't Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. False. Kelce helps. but we got Steph Diggs.
Right.
I mean, every team we're saw usually has a number one option that everybody knows about.
Yep.
And, I mean, it is what it. Travis Kelce is the greatest tight end ever. Is he or is he not? Who cares? Steph Diggs has put up 100+ catches, 1,500 yards, double-digit touchdowns. We got the same thing. So this is what you call a timeout for and take a knee to go into overtime and lose to the Eagles.
Yep.
You play scared.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at the Jacksonville game. We gave up 474 yards of offense, almost 500 yards of offense. I mean, the only game we didn't have a meltdown pretty much was the Jets game in Buffalo, where they only allowed 155 yards. That's the only time we won that. What did we win that? 32-6, and everybody, oh yeah, we're back. I mean, it was a good game for Josh Allen to get confidence back because he has nothing to prove.
Right.
All he has to do is prove to himself, I can still do this.
Right.
And that was a cleanup game. He said it in the game. I'm effing back. I feel like I'm effing back. Mm-hmm. That's all we need because you can beat any team in this league.
Exactly.
And it's not like it's somebody that's a scrub saying it. It's somebody that lost his way, and he admitted to himself and whoever he was talking to, let's go. I could do this. But I need a coach behind me.
Exactly.
The next week who helped me take a knee.
Which, again, it is so key that we acknowledge what Josh Allen said in the postgame, which is, I trust those guys in that locker room. In that locker room. Not in that building. Not One Bills Drive. Not even the field house.
Not even the lunch lady.
Forget all of them.
Not the
the guys in that locker room. That's who I trust.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I think the body language at the end of the game, pulling on the face mask and that look of, damn, again?
Right. I had it.
Right.
Let me ball out. I was balling.
I did it for y'all.
I was balling.
Again.
And you screwed me.
Right. For the fourth time this season.
And the thing is, let me lose it.
Right.
Let me lose this game.
Exactly. That's what the 20 seconds was.
Yeah. I'm in Fuego. Let me lose this game.
Right.
But you won't.
Because you scared.
Right.
Because you thinking about the Jets game.
What if Josh would have thrown an interception? Who cares?
It's overtime.
It's overtime.
Exactly.
But that you already wanted to go to.
Right.
What if Josh would have had a false start? It's overtime.
There's a big difference between understanding that your quarterback can't control himself and being overwhelmed by a perceived trauma of interceptions in this player's history.
When you hand that man $258 million, you have supreme trust in that man.
Right.
In any other organization.
Well, at least the owner does.
Any other organization.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes would never have taken a knee. Jalen Hurts would not have taken a knee. No. Joe Burrow would not have taken a knee. Brock Purdy would not have taken a knee. Why is it that Buffalo takes the knee?
Well, it's because Andy Reid wouldn't have taken a knee.
Right.
Like that's really what it boils down to. Like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes would have pushed and probably would have exercised a little bit more of a voice to say, no, we gotta go. We gotta go. Right? But the way that Sean McDermott runs his program, none of the players have that ability to go and say to him, like, no, we're gonna go. Call the play.
I had a stat, something for you for your sprint option run, that shotgun run you love so much.
Uh-huh.
Joe Marino said, Josh Allen, he actually checked into that play. He said, yeah, that's not the player's call. That was not the player's call when Dorsey. He said he was checking into that play. So there's your answer. I thought about it just a minute, just while you were talking about Josh having autonomy. He liked that look.
He liked checking to that shotgun run?
Yeah. Evidently, the thought process behind it, and this is not me trying to argue because I'm just copywriting exactly what he said, but he said that the philosophy behind it is if you get past the first wave of defenders, it's nothing but open space. So, I mean, yeah, that's true, especially if they blitz. But you got to get past that first wave, which they never did.
I could understand if you liked that play because you ran it once and you seen it work greatly.
Right.
But you hadn't seen that run work in 6 weeks.
Right.
And not just the 6 weeks of one try. You had probably about 3 or 4 different tries in each game.
Yeah.
So you talking about at least 24 different times you've seen this thing not work, and you still, well, I just like the look. I just like the look.
Ready to lay your fam.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something. You know, a little juicy here. Is it possible that he knew Ken Dorsey wasn't the guy, and you know, listen, y'all want to box me in? I'm gonna box y'all in.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. It's a lot of things are possible. You know, so I'm not gonna shut the door on it, but I can tell you, I know James Cook probably like, fam, no, fam,
Right.
I'm gonna get killed, fam. This never works. Okay, fine, whatever.
No, James Cook at that point has to be like, if I say something now, I'm probably gonna get benched. So.
If I fart in this huddle, I'm gonna get benched.
Right.
Somebody gonna get back.
You sitting there and the players getting called.
Like they called a timeout.
I'll be back in 14 plays.
I'll be back in the second half sometime.
I'll see y'all in the third quarter.
Right, I'll see y'all boys later. He already knows. Like it's the EJ Manuel treatment all over again, but it's just like for like 3 players. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that like you said though, when you're talking about, you know, coaching scared and playing scared and doing all these things, you bring all this money in. You have Rasul Douglas you traded for, who had 2 interceptions. What was it, 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. You have
and a fumble recovery.
He got hosed for defensive player of the week. You know, you got Micah Hyde who's back there, who's getting older. Jordan Poyer getting older, but they still have a value. You have to rely on your guys. Terrell Bernard has shown his stuff. He's shown he belongs on the field. What are you hiding? What is the deficiency that you identified that you're trying to cover up? I can't identify it. I mean, Christian Benford, yeah, he's not the greatest cornerback yet, but he's holding his own.
Right.
What are you afraid of? What are we doing? You know, you had Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, you had Josh Norman, you have all these guys. Damar Hamlin, who you blitz a ton. Damar Hamlin was one of the best run blitzers you had, but you won't even dress him now. What are you doing?
Right.
And that's the kick. What are you doing? What are we doing here? You know, you got Taylor Rapp, who's probably not going to play on Sunday because of the injury sustained last week. But now you're scrambling for who's the next man up when they're right there.
Right. Right. I want to equate the way that McDermott coaches to an aspect of marriage, right? If so, as a husband, I cannot perform my role strictly from emotion. There has to be a balance of logic, emotion, you know, spiritual, you know, impact. All 3 of those areas have to have a balance. And if any one of those areas is out of balance, I come across as being out of control, right? Because if I'm too emotional, I might raise my voice at times where I shouldn't. I might say things out of emotion that I shouldn't. I might do things out of emotion that I shouldn't, right? And so if I'm going to quickly connect this to Sean McDermott without being too long-winded on it, I think the way that Sean McDermott coaches is from a very emotional place. Because as a husband, even though my wife may say something, you know, sideways to me, I don't have to respond with emotion. I can not say anything, pause for a second, think it through, and then think about what my reaction should be and what my response should be. And on top of that, think about what I want the outcome of the conversation to be, which is a continuous flow of love, right? That then becomes my reaction, because I've taken the time to process the situation in a way that comes across as me being prepared for the moment, right? And I think that's been the thing that's lacking with Sean McDermott, is that we really haven't seen too many instances, and maybe all of this is you know, a traumatic experience from having to play Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for his first 2 years. But you know, to be out there as an NFL head coach and to see some of the calls that are being made, like benching a James Cook, like the way that he coaches at the end of games, there's a level of fear that you can see in the way that he coaches, and there's a level of anger that you can see in the way that he coaches. Mm-hmm. And really, if you're going to be a great leader of men, you cannot allow those emotions to dictate your decision making. And if it is, oftentimes you're going to end up making the wrong decision. Right. And I think that is the key thing that we've seen from Sean McDermott the entire time that he's been a head coach here. And it's starting to get exposed more now because the team doesn't have the same coaches that it had. It doesn't have the same level of brain power that it had behind the scenes in the first 4 years of Sean McDermott being the head coach here, right? And so now what you're left with is Sean McDermott being the prevailing voice and the prevailing thought, but that thought coming from an emotional place. Mm-hmm. So there's less preparation and more emotion, and people are fed up. Yeah. We can see it now. We can see where these decisions come from, and I'm sorry, if you can't control yourself like that, how am I supposed to expect you to be able to control my team? Yeah. How am I supposed to expect you to control the outcome of a game based on how you're using the players and the decisions that you're making on, what the defense is going to do at the end of a game? You can't allow fear to dictate your every move like that at the end of a game. You can't. No. And when you do that, you're putting that same fear in the players. Like, if I can feel it at home, I'm sure the players can feel it on the field. Man, Sean tight, man.
Real tight.
Sean, he don't want to lose this game, man.
No.
We can't let him lose this game. Right. Like, that's how it starts, right? Yeah. That in the beginning, man, Sean really wants to win, man. We got to do this for him. We can't make a mistake. That turns into, here we go with this prevent BS again.
Mm-hmm. And when you're not having fun, you're not gonna produce on the field. That's right. People think that having fun is a detriment, but sometimes having fun is what gets you that extra little juice.
Yep.
And people were talking about, I didn't notice, but I heard that, when Dable was here, he used to have like dance contests and weird stuff like that. And like, you would never know that based on stuff you heard, you know. But that's the stuff that builds teams. That's the stuff that brings you together and makes you want to win for each other. Complementary football. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about the offense having players only meetings with no defensive players. You don't hear about, all these things. People get together as one. No matter what you do on the field, you're one.
Right.
But now we see such a divisiveness in this team that is like, okay, so who's going to lose it this time? Who's going to win it this time? What's going to happen? I don't know. I don't feel good about any game we play.
Yep.
And that started last year after the Green Bay game, the second half of the Green Bay game until now. It's still one of those deals where I don't know, because we're not taking teams to the woodshed that we should, like we used to.
Right.
It was beautiful. We beat up on the Dolphins. It was beautiful that we scored and sacked the mess out of Sam Howell and who was it for the Raiders at the time? Was it Garoppolo? Whoever it was beautiful that they beat up on them, but you didn't have this sense of, I don't even need to watch the game because I already know what's going to happen.
Right.
We've had those years before. But now it's like 2020 was like, yo, this is too easy.
We really only got that for like 2 years.
Right. Right.
After that, it was like
2020 was like, yo, this is too easy.
Yeah.
And it all falls apart, like you said, when it comes to most in the playoffs.
Yep.
It was too easy the whole season to 13-3. Mm-hmm. And then you fall apart where it matters the most. Because somebody who is the figurehead, the face of the team, that the figurehead of the team gets scared.
Right. Right. So with that said, I don't want the sentiment to be lost that we still believe that the team can run the table. Do we think that it's likely? No, I don't think it's likely because of course you have the coach that you have.
You have to run the table in the AFC at least in order for this to be a conversation.
Right.
I mean, if you lose a Dallas game, Okay. I mean, it's gonna hurt you, but if you're 3-5 in the AFC, and that's really not a good.
Well,
mark
put it
right
this
now.
way: you can't even think about winning the division if you don't win all 5 games.
Yeah.
And if you want to guarantee yourself a spot in the playoffs, that's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go into Week 18 for the win for the division. That game has to be for the division,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be able to beat Miami at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just it stinks because people tuning in, they hear us talking about Sean this way. I mean, this is a culmination of years of the things that he's done, and if you don't want to hear about it, okay, you can be in denial all you want, but it still exists. It's still going to be there. You're still going to pull your hair out at the end of another game, probably the Chiefs game. So we just, again, we're about getting to the truth. We're about getting to the bottom of a thing and really figuring it out and trying to come up with ways to fix it. And, with that being said, if you're
well, I was going to say, speaking of figuring it out and getting to the bottom of things, I have an article I kind of dissected for you guys based on the Von Miller contract.
Ooh.
Okay, so real fast, this is a whole bunch of numbers coming to you. Let's see. After 2023, Von Miller's contract holds 4 years, $80 million remaining, only guaranteed 10.7. If Miller's on the active roster in March, the remaining 6.4 of his 2024 salary will become fully guaranteed. Okay, so how can Buffalo get out of the contract? The Bills will need to pay the rest of the 2023 salary and 10.7 mil of his 24 salary immediately, or 11.1 mil. Buffalo would take on an additional 18.6 dead cap in 2023 and a 21.8 mil dead cap in 2024. So if you cut them, you're gonna count against the cap 21.8. Which is really steep.
This is worse than we thought.
But this next. Well, you want to read this here? This next sentence is the kicker. I don't even want to say.
Yeah, right. The Bills don't have the cap space to make this move.
The Bills do not have the cap space to cut a player. You don't even have enough money
to get rid of money.
Somebody.
You don't have enough money to get rid of money.
That is insane. That is the most insane bit, and that's what I've been telling people. You the mismanagement of the cap. When people say, "Oh yeah, the salary cap doesn't count," this line tells you everything you need to know. We signed the guy to a $120 million contract, knowing he already had a DV on his record, which neither here nor there. We're going to stay just on the fact that he didn't produce. We want to get out of the contract. You don't have enough money to let the guy go.
What happened to all these high character guys that we were supposed to have on this team?
Hey, you know how I feel about that. I'm like, yo, just win. I mean,
right.
No,
right.
I know where you are, but I mean, to me, it's like it's two different players. There's a person on the field who we all should care about.
Yeah.
The person off the field who doesn't care about us. So whatever. You go home, have your pasta fazool, and knock yourself out.
Right. What I'm saying is this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because in the last episode we talked about the Von Miller situation and how it relates to Deshaun Watson's situation. I'm looking at it like this: if you didn't allow his personal history to come out when you signed him, why are you allowing it to come out now? I mean, there's so many, like, think about it like this. Everything that Deshaun Watson didn't come out until he worked his way off the team. Mm-hmm. So all of this egregious stuff that we vilified this man for now, and we still don't know if he did it or not. We can't say because there is no conclusion to it, right? Mm-hmm. But all of this stuff that we've gone up in arms about was held under the rug by the team for 5 years. Mm-hmm. You mean to tell me you can't keep this quiet? There's nothing you can do in the city of Buffalo when you are the biggest organization in the tri-state area? There's nothing you can do for that?
Guess not.
So if I'm looking at, that's what forces me to look at this as, they're trying to find a way to get rid of Von Miller without them looking bad, which is par for the course for the Buffalo Bills and namely Sean McDermott. Anything that takes the attention away from what he's done wrong, because after the Eagles game, it was only about what he did wrong.
Right.
Nobody talked about the interception that Josh Allen threw. Nobody cared about that because, mean, really, realistically, he still threw what, 2 touchdowns after that? Mm-hmm. So he was the reason that we were ahead to, anyway. But this is just, to me, this is nonsense how we're sitting here now talking about Von Miller and not talking about Sean McDermott after the string of terrible coaching that he's had this year.
Yeah, and to further this, the Bills released Miller next March before any NFL punishment is handed down. Basically, what's happening here is, let's see, we try to get out from under the 6.4 guarantee in the 2024 season. Without a post-June 1st designation, Buffalo would have to take on a $32.5 million dead cap, including the $10.7 in cash, which would represent another loss of $8.6 million on the cap for 2024. So on top of the money that we don't have, if you cut Von Miller, you don't have Von Miller, his $32 million accelerated cap hit, and you lose another $8.6 million off the cap, which you can't recoup to put towards anybody else. Post June 1st designation would mean 17.084 mil of the 2024 dead cap, and another 15.4 mil of the 2025 dead cap. So if you do a post June 1st cut, what you end up doing is he's bleeding into the 2025 dead cap of 15.4 mil. That would free up 6.8 mil in the cap, but not until the 2nd of June in 2025. Now, why that's relevant is because free agency starts well before that. Mm-hmm. So the first wave is over with, and you don't have that money to play with. So you're, in essence, out of the first 2 waves of free agency by cutting Von Miller in the June 1st designated cut. Now, if he's to be suspended by the NFL, okay, let me take a breath. That would mean that his guarantees are voided. However, his salary still counts against the cap. Okay,
for this year.
Okay. Or, well, it's not going to happen this year. I mean, we're looking at 2024. So if he was to be suspended next year, because this investigation is going to probably take us until the end of the season. Okay. So if he was to be suspended next year, his guarantees would be voided, but his 17.1 salary would still count against the cap. Should you cut him? If he's suspended by the Bills, and if he's suspended and the Bills decide to keep him in 2024, he stands to forfeit $967,000 per week, which is his game pay. Yeah, that's what a time to be alive. You get a $967,000 check just for playing one game.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I wonder what that check looks like. Okay. Let's see. Brandon Beane designated Miller's contract to function as a signing bonus payment. So this is what I was getting to last show.
Okay.
They restructured his contract. So that makes it even worse. If they would have left it alone and something came out, we could get out of it without having to worry about years in the future. Right. However, because they changed his contract up to guarantees and signing bonus in order to make it to fill the team.
Signing bonuses are straight from the owner too. That's not through the salary cap, is it?
It factors in, but okay. No, it doesn't count fully towards the cap.
Right.
But when you do that, you convert it to a roster bonus, and the roster bonus is against the cap. So that would count as 10.6 mil to cap to operate with. For that's what they did. They changed his contract so they could get 10.6 mil back to operate with. The plan for 2024 was very similar. Buffalo would have been able to convert nearly $16 million of Miller's base salary into a signing bonus, freeing up $12.7 mil. However, with the suspension possibly looming here and the subsequent void of Miller's salary guaranteed, Brandon Beane will almost certainly not convert any of Miller's compensation to signing bonuses in March, meaning it means they'll be forced to carry his $23.8 million cap until further notice.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah. So, if he gets added to the commissioner's exempt list, okay. If they place him on the player's exempt list, it doesn't impact his ability to earn his salary, nor does it reduce his salary cap figure. In essence, the player has been placed on a paid leave, which opens up a roster spot, but doesn't offer anything in the way of a salary cap relief. So pretty much you're
screwed either way.
Yeah, this is it.
Doesn't matter what you do, you're
done.
You can't play him anymore.
Nope.
And you can't cut him.
Nope.
Unless
you just
want to destroy your cap. If you don't want a team next year, then you can cut Von Miller. But this is insane. Like, if anybody says anything about Brandon Beane in this instance, I will put 4 knuckles to your nose. Because it is the most closed-minded, ridiculous. Like I just, this is Sean's show. That's what the owner said. Mm-hmm. Your head coach hired your GM. Mm-hmm. So all of these decisions on who to sign, when to sign them, all that is a Sean McDermott decision. Mm-hmm. Bottom line. Like the evidence just keeps piling up. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is insane. This is insane. This is exactly what he wanted, because now, like, and I was just on Facebook earlier today. Bill's Mafia Facebook page is going crazy posting about this guy. Yeah, they're posting about, you know, his history of you know, DV events and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, you know, first and foremost, it was kind of appalling that it really didn't take much. I mean, for people who already knew about his history, okay, cool, but you know, the way that it seemed like everybody had something to say about this, like you don't know if he actually did it yet or not, right? But furthermore, the fact that, you know, the NFL is a perception based entity, you know, it matters from that standpoint. And now you have a situation where you're stuck with this contract that shouldn't have been signed in the first place. Mm-hmm. And you've allowed the news of this situation to get out, and you're essentially deciding to pay this player millions of dollars to not play for your team anymore. Yep. Like, regardless if he's on the roster or not, like, if you cut him, you still got to pay $1 million. If he's on the sideline with you, you still got to pay him. Like, just, you should have just made him a coach. That's essentially, that's really what you wanted in the first place. You wanted to have a guy that can come in and teach Russo and Epinesa and help those guys develop in the room. Mm-hmm. That was your veteran in the defensive end room, because you didn't have another guy, right? You know, especially after you lost Jerry Hughes, and we all know how Sean McDermott loves to have a veteran den mother in each position room, which is, again, it's another one of those stupid things that you need to have a systematic process of doing things, and not really be able to explain the why, or not be able to kind of see the benefit behind it. Like, look at the cornerback room in New York. You think Sauce Gardner is going to the owner and saying, man, DJ Reed ain't enough, man. We need some veteran leadership in this locker room. You think they calling for that? No. You think the corners in San Francisco is calling for that? Nope. Like, to me, like Patrick Surtain in Denver. Mm-hmm. Like, he ain't crying because he ain't got no veteran leadership in his locker room. Like, this is not stuff that needed to happen in the first place. Yeah, I mean, they look at it. We're all ball players. We're all at the top of our game. We all can do this. Right. You know. Right. You do that. You don't do that kind of stuff with grown men. Right. You can do that stuff with college players. Mm-hmm. But I just don't understand. You know what? I think I'm starting to get to the point where, you know, Pagula might enter this conversation because you sat in the room. That's what I was getting at. I mean, you listened to this guy come and tell you how he wants to build a college-like culture in your NFL building. Mm-hmm. And you thought to yourself, man, that sounds great. Idea. I've been to a college game before. I love Penn State. I love Penn State. Yeah, he does. Yeah. From right down there. And you had somebody come in there and do like Adam West did and sit you on his lap and rub the back of your neck and soothe you oh so gently and talk up everything that you love, and now he's your best friend. Yeah. Well, guess what? You got to fire your best friend, dude. What you gonna do? Balls in your court. Right. You already losing money. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Take it for what it is.
We got to move on.
Let's fix it. Let's fix 2025.
Yeah.
We got 25 guys on the roster. Yeah.
Oh, because of this Von Miller situation, now we have 3 players left on the Buffalo Bills roster.
I've been messing around with salary caps all day trying to figure this out, but it's just not. So, yeah. So let's say, okay, we picked up. What did we pick up last time? We picked up, just for guys folks who didn't tune in last time. We had A.J. Dillon, Calvin Ridley, Trent Brown, Brian Burns, Linval Joseph, and Daquan Jones holdovers, Cameron Curl, and Thomas Morstead.
Yeah.
So those are the guys we added last week. All right. I don't know if you have your spot track up, but what I did was I went ahead and did a mock draft for 2025. Don't take it too much to heart because obviously these guys are not at their peak yet in college. I took a running back in the second round after I traded away the first round pick. I got a second round, fourth round from the same draft in 2025, and also picked up a first and seventh in 2026. So in 2026, we'll have 2 first round draft picks according to my logic. So I took a running back in the second, Nick Singleton. I took Dane Key as a wide receiver in the third, Cole Houston as a guard, a safety Deshaun Pace, C.J. Hicks, a linebacker, Keontae Goodwin at tackle, and Toriano Pride at cornerback, just to fill out the positions. But obviously, if you're looking at free agency, we usually we're going to do that together. So you want to start off with quarterbacks, who we will have. Matter of fact, who was the quarterback we took? Darnold?
Yeah, Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. So we have 2 quarterbacks.
I think his contract was a 2-year contract, so I'm just going to say he's still the backup.
Yep. I'm just going to assume that all these guys are going to still be on the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right.
So quarterback, we probably have a lot. Actually, we got 3 quarterbacks. We have the guy I drafted, the Florida State guy.
Yeah.
Which I like the value if he can get, because it's the one that broke his leg. So if he can come back in any capacity, getting him in the 5th round is a steal. So
yeah, I would take that.
Yeah,
easily.
Worst case scenario, he doesn't work out. He's a 5th round draft pick. We wasted better on Ariza, so
right,
we can eat that.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna assume that Steph Diggs is at this point he'll be 32.
2025, 32.
Yeah, so he'll be 32. He maybe loses a small step, but he's still a great route runner. I'm going to say we put him in the slot. We still have Calvin Ridley, who's coming up on 29 years of age, I think, at that point. So let's see if we can add some help outside for the Bills. Free agent wide receivers, we're looking at let me see. I'm just gonna focus on the younger guys because I really don't. I want to try to get younger. I don't want to keep.
I'll say, don't forget we took a wide receiver in the first round of 2024. So we got the Keon Coleman from Florida State.
Know what? So here's the thing. I thought we had him as the number 2 receiver.
Yeah,
I would have just started him instead of having Calvin Ridley on the team at all.
We could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So assuming we do that,
either or. If we had, so we have, okay. Yeah. So you're actually, we have the younger guy. We're already good there.
Right. So that's kind of why. So I guess in my scenario, no. but yeah. So I got to look at free agency, and I mean to be honest, the only guy that I think I would consider going after at that point in time is Jerry Jeudy. I don't think you're going to be able to get Justin Jefferson. I don't think you're going to be able to get Jamar Chase. And everybody else is too old. DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Robinson, Deontay Johnson is 28, but he's more of a slot guy than an outside guy. Brandon Cooks will be too old at that point. Cooper, Godwin will be 29. Mike Williams will be available, and Keenan Allen is going to be the same as Steph Diggs.
He's going to be expensive. Brandon Ayuk, too expensive.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, like you said, there's Nico Collins is probably going to price himself out. He'll probably be $23 million. Yeah. No,
CeeDee Lamb's going to get the bag.
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell. I
How you feel about him?
I don't see him as an outside guy.
I just know you traded him to me in fantasy.
I sure did.
You just was like, just take him.
I wanted to smack myself silly yesterday. I left Puka Nacua on the bench. Man had like 30 points.
Why would you ever?
Why would I ever? Because he was injured the last 2 weeks and didn't really do much, and then now all of a sudden both him and Cooper Kupp are healthy. I'm thinking, okay, well Cooper's healthy, he'll be able to eat, and Puka really hasn't done much in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I'm a sinner.
No.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
you know who I ended up starting? Friggin' Adam Thielen.
You deserve that L.
I did deserve that L. I did. But here's my defense.
Uh-huh.
Adam Thielen's floor has been more consistent than Puka Nacua's floor.
I'll give you that.
So anyway, there's your little bit of fantasy talk. I'm probably not going to hear any more of that the rest of this episode. Anyway,
yeah, we got something down the pipe that you might increase that, but I don't. I'm not going to be worth salt in fantasy.
You know what? Let me apologize real quick. We were supposed to have different shots today. I actually forgot the cords at the house. I apologize. I got here and I forgot the cords, and then so anyway, we will have that for you on Friday. Friday. Please tune into that. It's gonna be awesome. As far as free agents, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So let me ask you about this. Nico Collins is a free agent in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I do like what he's been doing with C.J. Stroud. I don't know if that's the guy that they want to keep as their number one receiver, because according to Spotrac, he's gonna
23 mil.
Yeah. 22.9 million.
Yeah.
So, would you take that here, knowing that he's playing, with a second year wide receiver and Steph Diggs in the slot?
I couldn't do the money.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I mean, with Shakir and Ridley and if we did take the Keon Coleman out of Florida State, I mean that's up there. That's a lot of money in a wide receiving room. And if we had an offensive-minded head coach, it wouldn't, be outside their own possibility. But, I mean, for me, it's just tough to swallow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't even see any low-key name. I mean, maybe an Elijah Moore coming in to be that, solid number 2 receiver if you really like what you got in the rookie, and you're going to say – and I'm sorry, let me back up. Elijah Moore would probably be your number 4 option in the offense, but he would play that wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's it. Brandon Johnson from Denver, Josh Ali, Britton Covey, not names that I would ever think about starting here. Kevontae Turpin. Yeah, There's no more name. I mean, Ben Skoranek, we still have to see. But he, at that point, he'll be 27, and they don't have a market value for him either.
Mm-hmm.
Tylan Wallace is an interesting name, but I think he's more of a slot receiver. And in this scenario, I think we have Steph Diggs in the slot already, so we don't really need that. But
yeah, it's not looking good for wide receivers.
So I think as far as signing a receiver, I probably wouldn't, unless somehow I wanted to take a shot at $23 million for Brandon Ayuk. Would you take that?
I mean, if I was going to do 23 mil, either not Nico. Who was it? Who was the? Was it Nico Collins? No, it wasn't Nico Collins. Who was it?
Yeah, Nico Collins is 23. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably lean more towards Nico if I was doing 23 mil towards a wide receiver, but that number just it makes my knees shake, man. that number, yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this: you're the Buffalo Bills. You have about $50 million in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
Would you maybe take a shot at CeeDee Lamb for 26.9?
I mean, if you're going,
he'll be 25.
I mean, you could.
It might have to be 30 if you're gonna compete with Dallas.
That's where it's starting to go way outside of my realm of possibility. I think with who we have, already, I think I would stay with the Nico Collins or Ayuk if I had to.
Okay, so let me do this. Let me give you a contract for $1 billion,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have a pen,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a pen right here that's worth $1 billion. I'm gonna challenge you. The market value for Justin Jefferson is $28.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings are not going to have a quarterback after this year.
Unless they draft somebody that we don't see coming.
They're not going to be in position to really draft anybody of worth to Justin Jefferson. I would contend that he's not going to be happy as a Viking. The prospect of staying a Viking in 2025.
So you're telling me we could have both number 1 draft picks in 2020? Both of our 2020 number 1 draft picks?
Yes.
Steph Diggs and Justin Jefferson?
Yes. Yes. You've got $50 million of cap space, and you have an opportunity to sign what is probably still going to be the best wide receiver in the entire NFL. And on top of that, he is only, at that time, where is he? He's 26.
Let's shelf that for now because I want to see. I want to see who else we can fill out.
Okay.
Another.
All right.
Because there's nothing out there.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what free agency is all about.
Yeah.
You gotta survey the field. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now, I'm only gonna give you 5 minutes to decide now because in regular free agency you don't get a.
We have a whole list at that point.
okay.
We already have our board together. We have Brandon Bean out. What did you say last time? He popped out of his little hole. What did you say?
Groundhog bean. Groundhog bean. Pop that big old forehead out of that little hole, see his shadow, and go right back in. That's what he does. Are we still okay at tight end?
Yeah, there's nothing there of note. I mean, I was looking at that while you're looking at wide receivers, and tight ends. Kyle Pitts. You can go. That's pretty much where we are with it. Kyle Pitts and the rest is, you can go Tommy Tremble if you want a blocking guy, but I don't know what he's worth, but why would you really care about Pat Freiermuth maybe?
Maybe a guy like Brevin Jordan who was on the Texans if we got Bobby Slowick as our head coach.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know enough about Brevin Jordan. I think I'm good on tight end. I think I'm okay. I don't know about you, but I think tight end I'm okay.
I'd like to know what the market value for Pat Freiermuth would be. I would take him over anybody else on this list right now. If I could, if it was me, I think. Let me look at Dawson Knox's.
I think I'd be intrigued by Kyle Pitts.
So Dawson Knox's cap number in 2025 is $15.4 million total.
Mm-hmm.
A pre-June cut adds about 7.8
mm-hmm.
to the dead cap and frees up about 7.6. Yeah. So basically, his salary gets split in half between dead cap and the space that we free up. Now, here's why I would do that. In an offensive league, if I want to have blockers on my team, I can have blockers on my team as a fullback, as a tight end, as whatever I want, and I don't have to pay them nearly as much as Dawson Knox is getting paid. Right? And if I'm talking about a guy who is a much more fluid wide receiver who has also shown the ability to block, I would say fairly well.
Who are you talking about?
Pat Freiermuth.
Oh, Freiermuth.
I think for what his cap number is in 2025, it's in 2024 because he'll be a free agent. It at that point would have been $1.5 million. Now, with his production, because he's been playing with Kenny Pickett, hasn't really been that great. So his numbers won't dictate him getting Travis Kelce money or even Dalton Kincaid money, I think you can still get him for a reasonable price. I'd much rather take Pat Freiermuth and Dalton Kincaid rather than Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid.
I think what you're saying is why I looked at Kyle Pitts the way I did, because he's not being utilized correctly in Atlanta, and I think he's got a lot more to offer than what he's shown.
Okay.
And based on his productivity, his cap number is not going to be high. Might not even be as high as Freiermuth's right now. So
that's true.
To tap into, somebody like Kyle Pitts that with the athleticism, the size, and the youth that he has, he's only be like 25 and some change coming up on his contract. And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, could he be, another Dalton Kincaid? Could he be that same kind of mold? What could you do with both of them on the field at the same time?
Right.
Especially if you have an offensive line worth salt by then that can block without having to be chipped all the time, because this is the year when Spencer Brown's no longer here unless you re-sign him or restructure him at some point coming up. Freiermuth is, if we're talking about the most traditional tight ends, more traditional tight ends, I should say, he would be over Kyle Pitts. But I think Kyle Pitts' athleticism would give you more of the explosive plays that an offensive-minded head coach or even a Joe Brady or somebody of the like would really benefit from.
Okay. All right. I like it. Either way, I think the Bills are still fine. We don't have to get another tight end in here. It's just kind of trying to stack the box, on the offensive side the way that it was stacked on the defensive side for so many years. Let's go to left tackle, because Deion Dawkins is a free agent in 2025 as well.
And I'm telling you, I was ahead of you because you only gave me 5 minutes to make a decision on Justin Jefferson. So I didn't see anything in there either. So talk some sense into me. Let me feel better about the left tackle market in 2025.
Okay. Well, I'll say this. Let me see. For Bakhtiari at 33, he's had some injuries, but I think that's a guy that I would love to have here. He's a great pass blocker and he's a solid run blocker. I think his savvy at the position and his ability to not he's just more technically sound than Deion Dawkins has ever been. Right?
Yeah, Dawkins is kind of got stuck out there at tackle, and he has always been a guard.
Right. So I would even take a look at Rashawn Slater. I
was going to say Rashawn Slater. That was the name that popped out to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big money spender on the offensive side. So I mean, to be honest, if I could secure Tristan Wirfs and Justin Jefferson in the same offseason,
you wouldn't. Did you see what he's worth? What his market value is? You're gonna
$28 million.
Yeah. So
you don't think I could?
I don't think you could fit that under a cap.
Really?
Well, you got to figure we only have 25
magic?
Players.
Huh?
We only have 25 players, so you got to come up with another 30 players. Now you're looking at
I'm drafting 7. I'm drafting 7 players.
Well, now you got 30 players for like $20 million, so the rest of them are gonna be rubbish.
Yeah,
that's just potato. I know,
defense, schmeefense.
Whoa, wait a minute. Give me the controller back. No, I mean, honestly, Tristan Wirfs, yeah, and I clicked on it when you were talking. I was like, ooh, they got a mark. Dang, I closed it right away. I saw 28 minutes. I said, yep, that's worth for that.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a situation where he's hungry for another Super Bowl, but, he's so good that, he'll probably be able to go wherever he wants. I think, anybody's going to give him what he wants. What's going on with Rashawn Slater, though? Is he what is CO?
Don't know.
Is he hurt?
Club option. So basically, that's his option year.
Oh, so okay, right. Oh, so he's probably going to get a 5th year then. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Well,
that's why it's red. But
yeah, so
we could dream.
right. So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick a guy from this list and you put my feet to the fire, I'm going to say David Bakhtiari. He'll be 33, but I think you could get him on a nice 1-year deal, at that point and kind of, secure that position. Again, you don't need You don't need a Tristan Wirfs at the position when you've got a guy like Josh Allen who can move around.
Mm-hmm.
What you really want is a guy who's just technically sound and isn't going to lose you games because of his play.
Getting away and buy you a little bit of time.
Right. So, if we have to go free agency and there's nobody that we can find in the draft, then this would be the guy that I would get as kind of that just in case option.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Anybody that tickles your fancy there?
No. I mean that one was just a tough one.
Wait till you see what right tackle's holding.
Yeah, right tackle is not even worth talking about. There's nobody there.
There's two players as of right
designated,
now.
And one is not a player because
you don't want to talk about Mekhi Becton?
Nah.
What?
Nah. I mean,
you don't think you can convince him to lose a few pounds and play right tackle for you for $12.9 million?
No. I mean, he lost a lot of weight to get down to 350, 360, whatever he is now.
You could probably get him for less than 12.9 too.
You could. But see, my thing with him isn't the money. My thing with him is the health. And at 6'8", 360 or whatever the case, his knees aren't going to be sustaining himself. I just don't see him making it through 16 games anytime in the near future. So New York already declined his $13 million option for 24.
Wow.
They signed him in 2020 for 18.4 a year, and then they declined. They don't even want him back for the fifth year unless he takes a reduction from that 13.5. So that tells you right there, and it was documented that he was definitely somebody that they're having a serious concern about his viability on the field.
Right.
When he's out there, yeah, he's a space heater. He could take up some room for you and make some good things happen, but it's just not consistent enough. And I mean, I will take that McDermott adage into a grain of salt here, with your what is it, abilities. Your availability is important.
Ugh.
And for that kind of money, it is. I mean, he has a history of injuries, and that's what really gives me pause for that kind of money.
Okay. All right. So who did we already have at right tackle? We still got Spencer Brown there.
He's a free agent.
So we have nobody at right tackle. So we're gonna have to
We
draft.
we have no, we don't. We don't have anybody. We drafted. I took an offensive tackle in both of the drafts we did in 24 and 25. So hopefully one of them pans out.
Okay. We also still got the Vander whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I could see him either playing left tackle or right tackle, one of the two. I would definitely give him a shot just with how he's improved. So I could see. Mm-hmm. I could see the Bills doing that. Mm-hmm. So maybe we rest on that.
Yeah, we have no choice right now.
Yeah, either him or one of the draft picks. You're right. Yeah, they're kind of stuck there. Okay, guard. Do we need to go over guard? Do we think that Connor McGovern is?
He'll be fine. Okay. He'll be fine.
All right, and center we got settled last time, right?
We got the center settled with the draft.
Okay,
so the guy from Georgia.
So it's 2025.
My time to shine.
Right.
Defense.
We weren't able to get the defense set yet, but we did get a great edge rusher in Brian Burns.
Mm-hmm.
I think one tech is an area where we need to try and see if there's better options out there.
Yeah.
You want to start there?
Sure. I just wanted to take a look real quick and see what they have for edges.
Man, free agency, yes.
Yeah, they got Aziz Ojiri, who I really like coming out of college, Georgia.
Edge rushers. Okay.
Yeah, I liked him coming out. Rashad, this is the guy I was talking about with the Krav Maga last time. Rashad Weaver.
Okay.
Who else do we have? Obviously, you're looking at Mr. Parsons, who's not going to get out of Dallas, and they're looking at 28.3 for him. Khalil Mack, 23.5 average, annual average at 34 years old. Of course, don't care. That's fine. Trey Hendricks, 30. Eric Armstead. All these names are now in their 30s. So you're looking at who do we have? A viable one would be Jalen Phillips, which would be a Russo, which is on this list as well.
Yeah.
Jason Owade, somebody I thought we should have taken as opposed to Russo.
Do you pick up Rousseau's option?
I would.
I would. Okay.
Yeah, I would. Only because, I mean, like you said, we parked on the fact he's a good player. He's just not a pass rusher like they wanted to market him as.
Right.
He's definitely somebody that belongs on the field and can make a difference. It's just he's not what you guys think he can do. Kwity Paye, I don't know what really happened to him. But I'm really looking for another edge rusher. So Jason Owe or Dafe Owe from Baltimore, or what should I say? Olajari. Those two are guys I would look at. Even Malcolm Kuntz from UB. He went to Las Vegas. Situational pass rusher. He shouldn't cost much.
Even with Brian Burns here, how much do you think those guys get paid?
Well, if you're looking at Malcolm Kuntz, he's not going to make a lot. You're looking at maybe $3 or so million. Olajari, he's going to be, he's probably going to be over 10. Owe, I'm not sure about. Owe, he's going to be situational, so you're looking at probably more like the 5 or 6.
Right.
But yeah, I think if you're going to bring in a backup to edge rush, I might look at Malcolm Kuntz, maybe even Rashad Weaver, just to have somebody on the bench waiting to get in. But to your point,
build up that depth. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. To your point, for defensive tackles, this is going to be scary. But let's see, we got Kenny Clark, and I'm looking at guys that are not over 30. So Kenny Clark.
Kenny Clark. That's a big man right there.
Yes, it is.
That's a big man.
Yes, it is.
You could even go. I like Tillery. Tillery's a solid player.
Godshaw is there. He's 30.
Talking about Jerry Tillery from Vegas now.
Yeah.
And then who was your guy?
Godshaw is 30. So that's
Yeah.
BJ Hill is 29, almost 30 at this point in time.
There's some good 3 techs in this.
They really are.
I mean, Bobby Brown, Bobby Brown is a good option out of L.A. And then Christian Barmore, another 3 tech. Derek Brown, another 3 tech.
Why is Kingsley Jonathan a defensive tackle? I've never seen him play.
That's what the Bills have him listed as.
But I've never seen him play defensive. Have you seen him line up at defensive tackle?
No, can't say that I have.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to park on it, but I'm like, why is he there?
So, who did you draft a defensive tackle yet?
Defensive tackle, I have. Nope, no D tackle drafted.
So I'm thinking it's probably gonna have to be draft on this. Just like if Kenny Clark is gonna get $17 million, we haven't decided yet on Justin Jefferson, but I don't want to spend that money unless I know for sure that we're not getting him. So I'm kind of reserving 28, and then you want to give Kenny Clark 17. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think we might need to be, as smart as humanly possible with the draft picks.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, and in this instance, you want to draft, the year prior.
So let me ask you this: Do you think Aaron Donald could come in for a year and do the job?
I don't think I want Aaron Donald. At that point, I don't think I want him.
At 33?
Yeah, I don't think I want him anymore.
Okay. Is that like a Von Miller trigger for you, or?
No, I mean I think for one he didn't want to leave L.A. So I feel like the Devontae Davis kind of thing could rear his ugly head where he gets through training camp and says, nah, you know what, forget it. I don't want to be out of L.A. I'm going to retire. Or he kind of is in preservation mode for that year. So I'm not trying to loft this upon the guy's name and sully him at all, but I feel like that's something I have to protect myself against.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, I mean that name is DeForest Buckner. That'd be an interesting name to have.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, that was gonna be my next one. I think he's 31 years of age, which is it's decent. Mm-hmm. He's a big guy, and he can play one tech. Mm-hmm. I would have to see what the numbers were because right now, as of 2024, his cap hit will be $21 million in Indy. So we would have to see what the numbers would be on that. Malik Collins, for some reason, is sticking out to me, and I can't remember what I know about him right now. So we'll overlook that.
Shelf that.
Yeah. Huh?
Is he going to shelf that?
Yeah, we'll shelf that. We'll say If we can't sign DeForest Buckner to a 1 year, then we would have to draft a guy, and maybe see about trying to keep DaQuan Jones another year or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, outside backer, we kind of touched on that edge already. I see a lot of the same names here in Khalil Mack and Olajiri and Owe, and so we'll skip that. We already talked about the edges, and I drafted a couple in my exercise.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say because Taron Johnson's a free agent in 2025, so that kind of gives you the ability to maybe go to a base if you wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, all right. Let's look at outside linebacker then. Who do you like?
Inside.
Oh, you're at inside linebacker.
Oh, you want to go back to outside? I didn't have anybody. Did you have anybody you really saw there? Because
Let me see here.
I was interested in, like I said, in if I had to pick one, it would be Owe or Ojulari. I'm sorry.
I like Kaiser White, especially at $8.5 million. He's a pretty good pass rusher, but he's also good against the run. And if I'm going to be playing in a base, I'm okay with that guy not being great at pass coverage because I still have Milano and I still have Bernard. Mm-hmm. So if I really wanted to, I can either have a big safety come in and take his spot on third downs or just move to a nickel formation on third downs and roll with that. But I do like Kaiser White at outside linebacker. I would absolutely love to have Zaire Franklin here, but I think he'll get re-signed just because they love him there. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other names other than maybe Shaq Thompson. Maybe you take a flyer on him because you don't need the position that he plays to, that's not an impact position, so to speak, for a base defense, right? So, I think you could get away with a 30-year-old Shaq Thompson coming in and just, being a stabilizing force against the run, which he's very good at attacking. So, yeah, I think if I had to make a decision, I'd either go with Shaq Thompson or Kaiser White. Money-wise, I think those are going to be the guys that are affordable but still give you some value on the field.
Okay. Yeah, and internal, I didn't have anybody on the inside linebacker in front. I mean, there's slim pickings there. Like you said, we already have Milano, we have Dorian Williams, we have Bernard. So
yeah, you could just draft another guy in the 7th round.
Huh?
I said you could just draft another guy in the 7th round, and
you could do that. I mean, I think I had in 2025. I took a linebacker in the 6th.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so we're good.
Okay. So are we gonna try to sign a nickel corner, or are we going to just kind of sign another boundary corner that could also bump inside on nickel downs?
Well, 2 names popped out on me with this. I saw Nate Hobbs, and I also saw who's the guy from New York? What is his name?
DJ Reed.
DJ Reed. Those are 2 names that popped out at me right away. Taron Johnson, you might get away with bringing him back if you want. He's only 28 and a half at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's not old. His price tag won't be astronomical. It's going to be in the double digits, obviously. But I think that's something that you could definitely factor in. You got Asante Samuel Jr. There was another name I saw that didn't really do it for me, but I think Nate Hobbs would be the person I would pick out of this list, or DJ Reed, one of the 2.
Okay, I like Diamador Lenore.
Okay,
I love the hit he put on Swift in the game yesterday.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah. And he's a ball hawk on top of that. So I like his play. What are we assuming in terms of who we have at corner? You know, we've lost Taron Johnson, but we would still have Benford. We would still have Elam, and who else?
Well, I got Elam at safety at this point in time. So
okay, so we really just have Benford at corner.
Benford at corner. I drafted 2. I had one in the 24 draft, and I had one in the 25 draft. So
how high?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5th round, 2024, and 7th round, 2025. So, I mean, just because they came in those rounds, obviously Christian Benford showed that it can be done, especially in the right scheme. But yeah, like I said, if you do Benford, if you do Nate Hobbs, DJ Reed, that's 2 with Benford included. You have another in Willie Roberts or Toriano Pride, which I drafted. So that you would have 4 there, and I think they carried 5 this year. So you're looking at 1 more. So that would be Nate Hobbs, DJ Reed, or the field, or what was the guy you said, Luminor?
Oh, Lenore. It's Len.
Oh yeah. Yep.
OIR.
Yep. Lenore.
So let me say this, because you got guys like Asante Samuel Jr. on this list who I would absolutely sign if I could. I do think he's probably going to end up staying in LA.
The name that I'm feeling like that I'm trying to my hardest not to look at is Caleb Farley.
Yes, I was going to say him, and I was also going to say Eric Stokes from Green Bay. I think both of those guys are guys that I would absolutely sign, but Caleb Farley more so than anybody else, just because of his size and speed. I love what he would bring to the table athletically as a corner here. Kyer Elam brings that, but we don't get to see him that much. I really wish he could have had the opportunity to, get a solid amount of experience in his first year. But a guy like J.C. Horn, he's another young guy that would be on his option year at that point. Byron Murphy's a decent name for a number 2 corner. You know what? I got to be honest. I think if we have to answer this question first. Are we of the mindset that Benford is going to progress to a level that solidifies him as at least the number 2 corner on this team?
I think so.
Okay.
I really do think so. And just to go back to the Farley thing, the reason why I am looking out of the side of my eyes at him is his injury history. He doesn't play almost ever. So, as much talent as he has, he went I think he was 22nd overall in the 2021 draft, I think. He just hasn't played. I don't think he's played a snap this year. He's missed half a season in the last 2 seasons. So, I mean, Virginia Tech, he missed his senior season due to injury. So it's just not coming together for him. So to sink a lot of money into him would be tough to do, especially in a season where you don't have all the assets that you would like to take chances on people. But if you wanted to go, a route of a high skilled, high athletic, highly gifted player, you would go at Caleb Farley, but you really have to be mindful of the snaps you give him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, based on what we've seen that's available in free agency, I'm going to pose the question again to you right now. Based on what we've seen in free agency and what's available so far, before we decide on corner, are you giving the money to Justin Jefferson?
I don't think I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I am.
So if that's the case, can we sign A.J. Terrell as our number 1 corner?
Sure.
Okay. He's got a hit of $19.1 million, which to me for a number 1 corner is not really that bad. I think Trey White's in the 20s, isn't he?
No, he's at 17.
17?
17,
okay. Well,
but this is 2 years from now, so that's
That's about the right
inflation.
level.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Yeah, so his comps are Jair Alexander, who I think the world of and is probably a top 5 corner in the league. And then you got another guy behind that, Denzel Ward, who I think is a top 10 corner in the league. Marshawn Lattimore's in the conversation there, and so is Charvarius Ward, who's also, very well thought of in the league as a, probably a top 20 corner in the league as well. So that's a pretty good list to be a part of there when it comes to your performance. I think I would love having AJ Terrell on this team. He's another kid, 6-foot kid, great speed, great coverage ability, doesn't get hurt is the other thing with AJ Terrell. You don't see him, missing a bunch of games. So I think I would love to have a guy like that here. If we're not giving the money to Justin Jefferson, then I would also like to pay Lenore to come in and be our nickel. If we can't strike a favorable deal with Taron Johnson to come back, then I think Lenore would be my nickel guy at that point.
You just took my Nate Hobbs, huh?
Huh?
You just took my Nate Hobbs away from me, huh?
You know what? I don't really know much about Hobbs. Where did he play before Vegas? Did they draft him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So tell me about him.
I mean, he's actually, obviously 25 years old. He's their number one guy. He's been their number one guy. He's a playmaker. So without looking at his stats, which I'll pull up to give you an adequate description of what he does.
Without pulling up his stats.
Yeah, without pulling up his stats.
As I pull up his stats.
I can't do it without it. Let's see. So let's see.
It
What
looks
is
pretty
this?
good
This is this year, yeah.
Ratings wise, yeah.
I mean, you're looking at 3 sacks in his career. You're looking at
His run defense is really good.
If this thing will move. He's allowed 5 touchdowns. He's got 2 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. He's just a guy that he mixes up. And they target him because, he's always following the number one gun of the team. So I think if you had a guy like Nate Hobbs, which would be a secondary kind of cornerback. So if you were looking at your AJ Terrell or something like that, you could slot him in next to him, and they could be your number one, number two.
I'm actually okay with that. I'm actually okay if we change the whole Benford's cool, but he's too slow for me. So
safety,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we make him and Elam can be the safeties, and oh man, I really like that. Yeah. Benford and Elam, I don't know. I feel icky about making Elam a safety, but it is what it is.
What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's almost like he's too athletic to be a safety. And his frame, he would have to show me that he could pack on another 10 pounds and carry it well. Because for him to do anything against the run or to come up and play in the box and, cover cover a running back or something like that and be able to tackle a running back one-on-one.
I think it's mentality, though. I think that's a mentality thing because, some of the smaller guys have done it, can do it. It's just, do you want to?
Well, the shorter guys are usually pretty – I haven't seen a safety that small that did well.
Hey. Not a meat on the bone.
And I'm just talking about, skinny. I'm not – he's a 6-foot guy, 6'1" guy.
He's smaller.
But he's a slender dude. You know what I mean? I need some weight on my safeties. I
think I want him to be more my ball hawk, but yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but yeah, either way, I think having Benford at safety sounds great. I would take that in a heartbeat if that allowed us to have Nate Hobbs and AJ Terrell as our corners. I would take that all day long. All day long. So let's pencil that in. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Only thing left for us at this point in time is kickers, which we have a kicker. We got a punter in Thomas Morstead. He's probably going to be retired by by then, but hey, a 40-year-old punter, whatever. Who's there? Tressway? No. Hecker? No. J.K. Scott? maybe. But the rest of these guys, I mean, you just pick your poison. I mean,
yeah, there's nobody that makes me want to cut my guy to sign them.
No. Yeah, I don't get excited about any of that. And I'm sorry, I skipped safety. So we did talk about Elam and Benford, and I just glossed right over who might even be there. Justin Simmons is 31. Who are the younger guys? Let me sort this by age. Javon Holland from Miami, no thank you. Trevin Morig, no thank you. I mean, he's okay, but nothing great. Actually, Talanoa Hufanga, he's actually pretty good over in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think they'll keep him. No, we got Curl.
That's right.
We got Curl. So
That's
if we're putting Benford at safety,
you're right.
Yeah,
we're good though.
We good at safety. Then
we're good money. Okay. All right.
I love it.
The rest of it is just filling the gaps. I mean, I think that's we built a decent team between this show and Friday's show. Obviously, you know, there's some things that we have to get into, like with exactly how to make the cap work, with the salary, what the contracts would be, but just bring them in. I mean, you know, and that'll tell you what the culture, what the perception of the team is. Our players willing to wheel and deal and be creative with us, even though they're going to get the same amount of money, or are they going to, you know, is it Buffalo another one of those destinations of years past where you got to show me the money for me to even think about coming to you, you know, and that tells you a lot about the culture and not what they're telling you is what the perception is outside of Buffalo. And I'm hoping to God that these guys don't want to. I'm hoping to God that these guys are not going to revert back to the way it was, where we're a pariah and nobody wants to be here.
I don't know. Well, we are going to have one thing that we've never had during the drought, which is a superstar quarterback that every offensive person wants to play with and every defensive person thinks is going to lead them to a championship. I mean,
in theory, yeah.
To me, that wins the conversation. If I got to think about whether or not Tristan Wirfs wants to come here and play left tackle for Josh Allen versus staying in Tampa, where they might have the cap space to pay him $60 million a year, he might choose to play with Josh Allen.
In theory, but I mean, in a vacuum, that's true. You know, we still got to contend with C.J. Stroud. We got to contend with your man Anthony Richardson. We got to contend with Lamar.
Well, they got Slater. They're set.
What I'm saying is there are other guys out that are going to be the same ilk, the same level, the same perception as Josh.
Yeah, Caleb Williams is going to be in the league next year.
People like that.
He might get attention in 2025 too.
So
right.
that's well, yeah. Of course, people are going to want to play with Josh, but there are other teams that are going to have more money and are going to have a quarterback that, especially, you know, you're looking at the Jets and the Giants, and they'll probably have a quarterback that actually is worth something at the time. Mm-hmm. Brock Purdy, if they still have Shanahan, he's probably going to have some kind of reception. So it's not like a one horse town where, you know.
You think after what happened this year with Aaron Rodgers that people are going to, you know, want to come here and play? Well, come to New York and play with him?
No. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is. I think what they have over here is what they have, and they're going to have to get young players. And I don't know what their cap situation looks like.
Draft people. I don't think
they shouldn't have a lot of money, but they got Robert Saleh, who's probably going to get fired after the season too. So that's another thing. So who's the coach? I'm not going to go there because I don't know who the coach is. What has he done?
True. All right. Well, we're not going to focus on, who we would pick as backups because, as we like to say on the show, backups don't matter. So
next man up.
Right. Exactly. So with that said, you know, I mean, if you don't have any other ideas as to additions for our 2025 team, I think we'll cap that and we'll get out of here. I love what we did. I think ultimately we put star power on the offense, or kept star power on the offense, stabilized the offensive line for sure. Wait a second, did we pick a left tackle? I just thought about that because I know we still had to decide on Justin Jefferson, and that kind of held us back from picking our left tackle.
I know I drafted a couple tackles, but left tackle you said David Bakhtiari.
Oh, that's right. If we had to get him on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, you said Bakhtiari.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. So, with that said, I am going to go to your favorite part of the show.
Yay!
Which is a little competition that we do at this time every well, I can't say every week, but twice a week. which is, and we have to actually turn the mute button off.
Yeah,
we got.
I put it on just in case.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guess what? That gives me another minute and a half.
Hey!
So now I get 3 whole minutes. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Listen, we enjoy doing this on a regular basis with you guys. We've even been tossing back and forth the idea of adding a third show and doing a reaction show on Sundays. So let us know what you think about that. If you want to see us do a reaction show right after the game, if you want to see something full of raw emotion, even though that is against Keyshawn's religion, I think we might be able to pull something like that off. But again, please continue to support the way you have. Continue to comment. And hit us up on social media. Wherever you like to hang out and scroll, I'm sure we're available there. You just Post Podium Podcast. We've got links up on all our pages on Facebook and all the social media promo videos that we post. We're around. Hit us up. If you want to talk Bills, we're around all the time for it. Especially my man Keyshawn is great at getting back to people in a timely fashion. I am not. So, listen, thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been the Post Podium Podcast, home of the all truth, no sodium takes. I have been your co-host, Aramis.
This is Key.
And we did it, baby, in a minute and a half. We are out.